Could a conflict between the US, Israel, and Iran escalate into a global crisis? In the tempestuous waters of international politics, few situations are as fraught with tension as the standoff between the United States, Israel, and Iran. This tension has been significantly amplified by the faltering negotiations over Iran's nuclear program. After the 2015 nuclear deal fell apart, efforts to revive it have been marred by deep mistrust and strategic calculations. At the heart of this deadlock, as revealed in the Vienna talks of 2021, is the US's thinly veiled warning. Diplomacy remains the preferred route, but other options are on the table if negotiations fail. This stance underscores a grim readiness to consider measures beyond the diplomatic realm, potentially even military interventions. Adding another layer of complexity is Israel's position. The Israeli Prime Minister, as of 2021, has publicly declared that Israel is prepared to act independently to neutralize perceived threats. This assertion not only highlights the severity of Israel's apprehensions regarding Iran's nuclear ambitions, but also signals a possible unilateral military action that could dramatically escalate the situation. With stakes so high, the question isn't just about a conflict, but about the potential of a global escalation. What recent events have pushed these nations closer to the brink of military action? In the summer of 2022, indirect talks between the United States and Iran in Doha ended without any significant progress. These talks were aimed at restoring the 2015 nuclear deal, which had previously set limits on Iran's nuclear program. However, the stalemate in Doha highlighted a deepening rift between the two countries, with both sides failing to agree on key issues. This diplomatic deadlock has significantly escalated tensions, raising concerns about potential military confrontations. Meanwhile, Iran has not only maintained but accelerated its nuclear development. Despite international calls for restraint, Tehran has continued its uranium enrichment activities, edging closer to the capabilities necessary for a nuclear weapon. This advancement is particularly alarming as it decreases the so-called breakout time, the period it would take Iran to produce enough nuclear material for a weapon. Such developments are viewed with great concern by the global community, particularly by nations within striking distance of Iran. Adding fuel to the fire, there have been several incidents involving drones launched towards Israeli infrastructure. These drones, perceived as direct threats, have targeted critical locations including gas rigs in the eastern Mediterranean. Such aggressive actions not only provoke military responses, but also serve as stark reminders of the volatile nature of regional security dynamics. Each drone incident is a bellwether of potential larger-scale military engagements, reflecting the intense and often hostile interactions between regional powers. Each incident not only strains diplomatic efforts, but also inches the players closer to potential conflict. How could a localized conflict spiral into a global crisis? In the fraught corridors of Middle Eastern geopolitics, the strategic alliances and enmities weave a complex web. The Gulf countries, historically swayed between Western alliances and regional solidarities, hold a nuanced position. Their recent moves towards de-escalation with Iran hint at a preference for stability, yet their ties with the US could compel them into less favorable positions should conflict arise. Lebanon, on the other hand, finds itself in a delicate balance, with Hezbollah's ties to Iran and ongoing disputes with Israel over territories rich in resources like the Karish gas field. Turning our gaze towards the global economic arena, the stakes are undeniably high. The Middle East is a pivotal artery for the world's energy supply, particularly oil and natural gas. Any disruption in this region can lead to significant spikes in global energy prices, affecting everything from the cost of heating homes to the price of gasoline at the pump. Moreover, increased military expenditures would likely follow as nations boost their defense readiness, further straining global economies still recovering from recent upheavals. The reactions of major powers such as Russia and China are particularly pivotal. Russia, already embroiled in the Ukraine conflict, might see a new Middle Eastern conflict as a distraction for the West, or as a means to leverage its own position in global energy markets. China, with its significant investments in the region through initiatives like the Belt and Road, would face dilemmas regarding its extensive economic interests versus its strategic military alliances. Thus, what begins as a regional skirmish has the potential to escalate into a global standoff, where superpowers and regional actors alike find themselves in an intricate dance of diplomacy, strategy, and outright confrontation. the interconnectedness of global politics means no conflict remains isolated for long. What has been the international response to these rising tensions? In the intricate dance of diplomacy, various global players have stepped forward in attempts to soothe escalating frictions. The European Union and the United Nations have been particularly active, employing a mixture of public condemnations, diplomatic negotiations, and peacekeeping initiatives. These organizations have tirelessly worked to mediate discussions between conflicting parties, striving to secure a stable and peaceful resolution. On another front, the United States and its allies have wielded economic sanctions as a tool to pressure Iran into compliance with international nuclear agreements. These sanctions have targeted key sectors including oil and finance, significantly straining Iran's economy. The goal has been clear: to pull Iran back to the negotiating table and ensure transparency and adherence to international norms without resorting to military action. Behind the curtains, there's a flurry of diplomatic activity. Quiet meetings in secure locations, phone calls between world leaders, and the tireless efforts of diplomats all aim to stitch together a consensus, or at the very least prevent the situation from deteriorating. These efforts are seldom front-page news, but they are crucial in maintaining channels of communication and laying the groundwork for potential peaceful solutions. While the world watches and waits, the effectiveness of these international efforts remains a critical question. What are the possible scenarios if a conflict breaks out? As tensions simmer, the outcomes could range from a contained skirmish to a full-blown regional or even global confrontation. In the first scenario, a limited conflict could see targeted strikes by the US and Israel, focusing on Iran's nuclear facilities. This approach aims to cripple Iran's nuclear capability while minimizing broader military engagement. However, even limited strikes could provoke retaliation against US and Israeli interests, both regionally and globally, through cyber attacks or direct military action. Escalating to a regional war, the conflict could draw in neighboring countries. Iran might activate proxy groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen, spreading the conflict across the Middle East. Such a scenario would not only destabilize the region but could also disrupt global oil supplies, leading to economic shockwaves. The most severe outcome would be a drawn-out global confrontation. In this scenario, the conflict could spiral beyond the Middle East, involving major powers like Russia and China, who have strategic interests in Iran. This could lead to a new form of Cold War, where direct conflict is avoided, but proxy wars, cyber warfare, and economic battles become the norm. Beyond the immediate military strategies, the potential for cyber warfare looms large. In today's digital age, conflicts are not only fought on battlefields but also in the cyber realm. Cyber attacks could target critical infrastructure, leading to widespread disruptions in essential services, from electricity grids to water supplies. Moreover, the humanitarian consequences of such conflicts are profound. Military engagements in urban areas tend to result in high civilian casualties and massive refugee crises. The displacement of populations not only affects neighboring countries but also has global implications, as seen in the Syrian refugee crisis. The path forward is fraught with uncertainty, and the ramifications are potentially worldwide. As we ponder the possibilities, the overarching goal remains clear: to avert a crisis that could reshape the geopolitical landscape irreversibly. As we've explored today, the situation is complex, and the stakes are incredibly high. In our discussion, we've seen how failed diplomacy, particularly in the ongoing tensions between the US, Israel, and Iran, could potentially lead to military action. This scenario, fraught with peril, could have sweeping global repercussions, affecting not just the immediate regions, but the entire world. The uncertainty surrounding these events cannot be overstated. Various factors, from international alliances and economic sanctions to regional stability and nuclear capabilities, play critical roles in shaping what might come next. Each of these elements adds layers of complexity to an already volatile situation. It is imperative to stay informed and to consider the broader implications of such a conflict. The potential for escalation into a more extensive crisis is real, and understanding the nuances of this delicate geopolitical tapestry is crucial for anyone keeping a keen eye on global affairs. Understanding these dynamics is key to grasping the potential for a conflict to become a global crisis. Stay aware, stay informed.